everyone, how are you? Thank you so much for joining me today. I am very excited to interview Mathew Landis. I have known Mathew about 6 or 7 years, I think. I'm trying to think.
Maybe.
How long have you worked at Davines?
Oh gosh, that was about 7 years ago, yeah.
Yeah, because I remember him teaching. I'd heard about him for years, and he was just like Santa Claus, and I was just like, oh, who's Mathew Landis? He's like this unicorn in Utah that I just never thought I would meet him. And then he taught a Davines class that I went to, and I switched to Davines strictly because of him. And then we just built a friendship from there.
Yeah.
We just started to get to know each other.
Yeah,
so
we really hit it off.
Yeah, we did. I'm so interested in your career. So as a lot of you know, my mission with these videos, with everything, is to give credibility and power to the industry of the beauty industry. I think we get misjudged a lot. We get misplaced. I think there's a lot of misconceptions that I want to debunk, that being a hairstylist or an esthetician or in the beauty industry is the best job that you could ever have.
Oh, absolutely. It's a terrific job. Yeah, so I started doing hair in 1995, so almost 25 years now. And growing up, I never really thought about being a hairdresser, and I was always a 4.0 student, like student body president, most likely to succeed, all that. And so people like me growing up were never encouraged to go into a trade, especially something like hairdressing, because that was definitely something that just the girls did, and it was sort of a default thing. And there was this stigma attached to it. And then when I went to college, I had some friends that went to hair school, but they were always seemed very like eccentric and fun. And for some reason, I just didn't see myself doing that. But then, I would go and get my hair done as a customer. So I really know what that feels like to be the customer in the salon and have expectations. And
you loved getting your hair done,
right?
Loved
getting my hair done, loved
it.
paying more for my haircut, going to a fancy salon. And, sometimes my expectations were met, and sometimes, so I really know what that feels like to go in there. So I started at 25, and really what did it was I started hanging out with a lot of hairdressers, and I saw how much money they were making. And
There's lots of money in doing hair. People.
Lots of money. And it's kind of funny now because I look at how much money everybody was making then, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, there's so much more money to
there's
make.
So much more opportunities, because I think now people are valuing it more.
Yes.
Right? It's not just a little shampoo sets. Now it's like, I want extensions, and I'm ready to drop $1,000.
Yeah.
To get
and
my
your hair really is, I think, the most important part of your beauty regimen. I mean, if your hair doesn't look good, it doesn't matter, how much makeup or what clothes. I mean, it really matters a lot. So my friends were making a lot of money, and I started, because I was at 25. I was having that quarter life crisis. What do I do with my life? And then hairdressing, I started going through the list, and it really checked off all the boxes. Lots of money, lots of flexibility with time. You can wear whatever you want. Hopefully it's professional and beautiful. You can listen to music while you work. You can leave work at work. I've always been a good talker and a good conversationalist, and so I thought I can either be a hairdresser or a talk show host. Hairdressers seem better. And it's a very creative business, so it really checked off all the things. And I didn't have to wear a tie to work. That was really important.
And you have to work in a cubicle.
To me, absolutely. So
what did your mom, really quick, what did your parents think? Like, you're in college, you're a 4.0 student, you're really smart. Were they slightly disappointed that you were like, hey, I'm going to go into hairdressing, or were you already moved out and it just didn't matter?
So it really didn't matter at that point. My parents have always been really great. I don't think it really surprised anybody, and everyone in my life was really super encouraging. They thought, oh my gosh, that's perfect for you. You're going to be really successful at it. So I was lucky to have the people in my life really support me. But I have met a lot of people over the years whose parents really just were like, oh,
my dad's still sad I'm a hairstylist.
Please don't do that.
Like, he still wants me to get a real job.
Yeah, and I had a friend in New York who her parents wanted her to go to college, and she wanted to go to beauty school, so she made a deal. If I go to 4 years of college, will you pay for beauty school? And they said yes, thinking that she would grow out of it. And then the day she graduated from college, she handed them the bill for beauty school, and she went on to be a big successful hairdresser in New York. So,
awesome.
Yeah, follow your dreams.
Yeah. So let's start. Let's go back to when you first started. Did you do an apprenticeship? Or
I was an apprentice. I never went to beauty school. So I started in the top salon in Salt Lake City at the time with some of the most amazing hairdressers. So if you can imagine how hard it is to be a beauty school student and then to feel like I have to like measure up to these titans of the industry at the
There's
time.
That comparison again that I was talking about.
Yeah, and so I had never even shampooed hair before I started at that salon. And so I learned on the job. And I've had, in my career, I've now had 9 apprentices of my own because I really do think it's a valuable way to learn. And one of the things for me over the years is I think that we need to provide more opportunities for as many people as we can to get into this industry, because I think that the industry itself made it difficult over time, and I think we need to provide more opportunities.
Yeah, and absolutely. And also, I just got back from that digital marketing conference, and one of the biggest things they talked about is jobs going out of business. So a lot of things are going to be obsolete, like almost even real estate. They were talking about you can go to Zillow, you could do this. You know, but no one can ever. Yeah. You can never have a robot or a chatbot or like an assembly line to get your hair done or to get waxed or to get, you know, your beard shaved and groomed and trimmed. And now they're selling that home color care service, and it's not even, I mean, it's doing okay, but people love to go get their hair done. And people love the experience. My clients tell me all the time, and I know I've heard this from your clients, like they look forward to their appointment all month or all 2 months or whatever. They're like, oh my gosh, my hair just needed you. And they just need, like, we don't realize how important we are to these people in their life. Oh,
we play such a huge part in people's lives. Like, we're really a part of people's families. And what's so strange is I've had so many husbands of my clients over the years say, oh my gosh, I feel like when we finally meet, I feel like I know you. We're a part of their lives, but we're not really a part of the rest of their lives. We're part of their lives in a really unique way. And I love that.
And it's more of a private, like, that's why they like it, is we don't know their kids, we don't know their husbands, we don't know their Aunt Sally that they always complain about. They just need some place to come and like dump and release and not have any judgment. And then just we can laugh about it, and then they can just leave it there, and they feel better, and they get to go home and be like, oh, so glad I got that.
Absolutely, yeah. We're like confidants to them, and you know, I think that it really is an intimate relationship because we're so close physically, and we're also asking people to be vulnerable. What I found early on is that when people are talking about their hair and how they look, that's probably one of the most vulnerable things that a person is going to experience. So to have that trust with somebody is really, really important. And, you know, I think one of the biggest things when people say they're moving to a new city is finding a new hairdresser is harder than finding a doctor.
They don't care about their house or anything else. They're just like, who's going to do my hair?
Absolutely.
You've done my hair for 15
years. Because they
years.
have to build a new relationship with somebody else. So, and it's really important. It's big.
Yeah. So you have, a lot of people think you can only just do hair behind the chair, right? There's so many more opportunities, you guys. That's why this career is the best career. And Mathew has done all of it. And he has, I'd like to think that you're like the Madonna of hair, because like you just keep reinventing yourself and somehow it just works. You're like, oh, I'm going to do this. And it still is working for me like 25 years later.
I'll take that because I'm a huge Madonna fan. So that's really flattering.
So tell us like your journey. So you started as an apprentice, and then you built a clientele, and then what was your next step from there? And how long did you think it took you to build a really good, strong clientele?
Oh my gosh, I have rebuilt my clientele, I would say about 5 times.
5 times.
Because I finished my apprenticeship, and then I was a booth rental hairstylist. I felt like I needed more training. So I moved to New York, and I trained in Manhattan at Aveda. And then I moved to Atlanta, and I did some more training at Van Michael Salons in Atlanta. Then I moved to Miami, and then I moved back to Salt Lake City, where I worked as a manager for Sanctuary Day Spa. I built a clientele there. Then I opened my own business. Then I ran a beauty school, and then I ended up at Image Studios back behind the chair. So I've managed, I've owned, I've done been a school director. I've also taught for Aveda.
Yeah, you're a L'Oreal educator now, right?
Well, I've taken a hiatus, but I was an Aveda color educator, I was a Davines color educator, and then a L'Oreal professional.
I know, he got me to switch
educator.
to Davines, and then he switched to L'Oreal just like that. I felt so betrayed.
I know. Well, I you know, I am always changing.
You got to change. It's the thing. That's the industry keeps changing, products keep changing, opportunities keep changing.
But you know what? The craziest thing for me personally, because I've had a lot of ups and downs in my life. I've had a lot of successes. I've had some tremendous failures. Some very public failures. And what I realized at some point about 7 or 8 years ago is where I love doing all these other things, but where I get the most joy and where I have the most flexibility and freedom and I make the most money is right behind the chair. Mm-hmm. Just showing up every day, doing great hair and building those relationships. And that's where I have found the greatest success. So all of that other stuff is just frosting on the cake, is just adds to it and makes it more fun. But really it's that relationship one-on-one behind the chair where I get the most joy.
And the consistency.
I think
that's like one of the beauties of also doing hair and building a clientele. I have done lots of hair and makeup for weddings. Mm-hmm. And it's beautiful and great, but it's a whole different kind of stress because once they get married, you know, I mean, I have had some repeat clientele, unfortunately, but not too many, you know, and not enough that it's like a consistent thing. So, you know, once you build that solid, loyal clientele, especially for like lash artists or, you know, because they come every 2 weeks, you're done. Like, I mean, not you're done. Like, you always want to be like growing and building, but it's so comforting to know that like in August, I'm going to be fully booked and I know that I'm going to make this much money. I might have 1 or 2 people cancel, 1 or 2 people move or leave or go find another hairstylist, whatever. But I'm always, now I've laid enough groundwork that I'm always having that flow that I can always take a new client. I just have to tell my clients like, oh, I'm accepting new clients now. And then they would just show up. So.
And I really enjoy the routine of it. I enjoy knowing when I look at my book and I see 8 people, 8 friends of mine, 8 people that I really love, I just know it's going to be a good day. Yeah. And so it's really great to come to work with that feeling every day. Yeah,
because so have you had some clients that maybe you didn't love so much?
Oh, completely.
So what was your approach of handing them off, setting them free?
Well, the funny thing about clients that I haven't liked, I'll be honest, I have found that most of the time they don't like me. And so it's usually at some point it's like this mutual thing where we just know this is not a good relationship. I've never really fired anybody. I've been fired by people, but usually there's this sort of mutual, just like, look, this isn't clicking. Yeah. So luckily, I feel like it just kind of works itself out.
It's never been like a sit down.
But you should never take I've seen this with people, and I've had to deal with when I was a manager and an owner. I've certainly had to talk to clients who were mean or cruel to my employees, and there is that point where you have to step in and be like, I am better than this, and you know I can't be treated this way.
So like what would they say?
I guess that did happen to me years ago. Like when I was in Miami, I had to have some real talks with a few people and tell them like, look, if you want me to do your hair, you have to be nice to me.
That's just crazy.
And I was like, I had one in particular where I was like, I don't even care if I get fired. I'm not doing this lady's hair. And, but I just laid down the law with her. And you know what? I think sometimes bullies respect you when you stand up for yourself. Yeah. And it changed the trajectory of it.
I would think the person you would want to be the nicest to would be the person with a pair of scissors that could chop a big chunk out of your hair.
You would think, but some people, you know.
Oh, interesting.
There's every kind of person out there, and 99% of the population get their hair done. So somebody's doing their hair.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
And being authentic now, which is like the word of the century, you know, the last 2 years. Some people are authentically assholes, and so they're just true. Like, that's authentic, but it's not okay. You can't treat me like crap.
Some hairdressers are assholes.
Yeah.
And so I think people just find each other in a way.
Yeah, that's
true.
True.
What I have noticed over the years is people like attracts like, and so most of my clients, like you said earlier, we find something in common where, like, I don't have kids, so my clients with kids, that's not something we have in common. So we tend to talk about books or other things that we both find joy in.
Yeah.
So I think that you
politics. Don't ever talk about politics. You totally talk about politics.
I used to. I don't anymore.
I heard a few.
I try to.
No,
yeah.
So,
but there's been some tense moments over the years talking about
for
that.
sure.
Yeah.
And I mean, I remember I've had to like intervene at image studios a couple times because people were talking about politics so loudly, and it was offending the people next to them. So, anyways, that's
I try to avoid that these days.
Yeah, I do talk about sex a lot though, but I think my clients like it. They keep coming back to me, and we just talk about sex,
religion, and politics. Those three things that you should
you're
avoid are the things that everybody wants to talk about.
That's what they want to go there and just talk about their,
I'm pretty, I think doing this for so long too. Like, I think for the most part, I'm really good at reading the room, and I think that's an important skill as a hairdresser.
Absolutely.
You have to kind of read the atmosphere and kind of know your audience.
Yeah. So how do you teach your apprentices and new stylists, like, that skill?
How to read the room?
Yeah.
I think...
I'm sure you've had some awkward situations with your apprentices.
I think with the apprentices too, I mean, you really do have to teach just sort of basic skills of how to greet people and how to talk to people. And so you just start there, and I think they just begin to pick up on it.
Yeah.
So there is a lot of coaching and mentoring. So I will overhear them talking to their clients, and so later we'll find out, like, oh, how did that go, and what really worked, and what do you think you could do differently, and then I kind of give them recommendations on how to talk to people. Because I think with hairdressers, this is one thing, the consultation is the most important part. And when I listen to other hairdressers over the years talk, sometimes I'm like, it's one of the things that a lot of hairdressers are really bad at.
Yeah.
Is listening to their client, and because you only have a really short amount of time to like figure out why they are there and what it is that they want. So how do you get to that point quickly and have them feel like they've been heard?
Yeah.
So I think that's a huge skill, teaching people.
So what do you think makes a good consultation? Just asking questions, or? Well,
I mean, it's so simple and dumb, but pictures are the easiest way to get from point A to point B. Because when I hear people talking about hair color, I'm like, auburn to me and auburn to you, I guarantee you, are two different colors.
Yeah.
So it sounds really dumb and simple, but finding pictures and they'll bring pictures to you, and you'll kind of look at these things, and sometimes maybe it's not something that you think is good for them or their hair is going to work, but you have to kind of find out what it is about that picture that they like. Is it the hair? Is it the sort of vibe that it gives off, or whatnot?
Do you like to, so I'm actually like, it's a whole video in my online series of like the perfect consultation.
Sure.
But do you like to sit in front of them, or do you have a special way that you stand behind them and like play with, like, is there something that you do to every single consultation of like how you approach it, or is it just different?
It's a little bit different for every person, but the only time I ever talk to my clients through the mirror is when I'm doing their hair, because there's no other choice.
Yeah.
Even if I'm talking about the weather, I always look at them. I don't talk to them through that sort of the
mirror.
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
Because I feel like when you're talking to someone in a mirror, there's still a disconnection there. And it's just, people want to feel that intimacy and that personal connection with you, and you just are never going to get it through the mirror.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's one of the key things. But yeah, it's different for everybody. And I think at some point it just becomes so innate that you just think, how do I do that? I don't
and then you get so busy. I think this is one thing I've tried to refocus on, is not taking for granted that, okay, 90% of my clients just tell me, just do whatever you want. Just make me look pretty. You always do a good job. And I've kind of built that type of a clientele. So when someone comes in with a really specific something, I'm like, oh, that's interesting. You don't trust me? Like, what's going on here? But so then I've kind of gotten out of the habit of doing a really good consultation until, like, then I have these new clients come in, then I'm like, oh, okay, like, show me a picture of something you like and that you don't like. Okay, this is red, this is not red. But I do think it's important to not take for granted that you shouldn't give consultations. If they've been coming to you for 5 years, you still should give them a consultation.
Oh, those are the people.
Like, you still should be like, do you want something different today? Like,
and if you haven't done a consultation on those people in a long time, next time you see them, absolutely do that consultation.
Yeah, because the number one, I always interview people when they come to me and ask, why did you leave your last hairstylist? Because they were getting their hair done before I came into the picture. And why did they leave? And two things. One, they were always late. And I am on time. Like, if my client's 5 minutes late, I'm texting them, where are you? And they're like, oh, I'm at Starbucks. I'm like, well, you better bring me one. Yeah. If you show up late and you had time for Starbucks, my clients know it's a rule. They have to bring me one. And they do. I get lots of Starbucks. But it trains them not to be late. And also, if I'm 5 minutes late, I will give them a text and say, I'm 5 minutes late. And it's literally 5 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I'm on time. And then number two is they would never do something different. Like, I get that all the time. Like, I wanted something different, but, you know, they just sit down in the chair and they're going through the motions, and all of a sudden I just came out with, like, brown bob again. Like, how do I have this brown bob for 20 years?
It's the number one reason people leave their hairdresser is change. So, and if you have a new client, there's a reason that they're a new client. They were somebody else's old client.
Yeah.
So why did they leave? I mean, I think that's a good part of the consultation. Why are you here? Why did you come see me in particular?
Yeah.
Because obviously something wasn't happening at the other place.
If you're not fulfilling those needs, people, someone else will.
Absolutely.
All right. So what do you think? Because my whole course is about how to be a six-figure hairstylist, and it's crazy how many times I'll be at, like, my networking events with all my business people, and I'll be saying something like, "Oh, I'm creating a course called 7 Steps to Six Figures" or something like that, and they're like, "What? Hairstylists can make 6 figures?"
I know, that's so shocking to people.
And I'm like, yeah, the waxer next to me makes $350,000 a year.
And you better be making 6 figures if you've been at it for a while, or something's not right, in my opinion.
So what do you think is the difference, though? Because there are a lot of stylists that, actually, when you look up what's the average income for a stylist, it's like $20,000 or $30,000.
Yeah,
last time I looked at that.
I believe that.
Which I just think is crazy. Either they're just getting it all on Venmo, which you shouldn't do, and I have a whole class on that. But or they're just not. Yeah,
I'll tell you what it is. It is the number one problem here is fear. And I say this all the time. Hairdressers are the bravest people I know.
Hold on, really quick. Only because I just picked up this book today to read. It's called Beyond Fear. Anyways, okay.
You know, I think hairdressers are some of the bravest people in the world because our self-esteem and our sense of self-worth are on the line every single haircut. And I think the hardest thing for a hairdresser to do is turn the client around and be like, what do you think? Do you like it? And we're really saying, do you like me? Do you like me? Do you like me?
Yeah.
Over and over and over and over. So it's hard on our souls. It is really tough. So when it comes to making money and being a good hairdresser, it's overcoming fear. Because I've been doing this 25 years and I still have anxiety. I still want them to like me. And I think we all still have those days, not as many, but we still have those days where we're like, I'm the worst hairdresser in the world. What am I doing? Who do I think I am? So really
Or you're like turning the chair and you're like, please like it, please like it, please like it. I don't have time to change it.
Yeah. And so when it comes to making 6 figures and making more money, it comes down to self-worth and value. And because we're so afraid that people are going to leave or they're not going to like us, we don't charge them what we should be charging. And I think that the number one thing that I think hairdressers need to do is charge more money. Because you can't make more time, and so you need to be paid for your time. Yeah. And I've said this before too. We're not paid for what we do. We're paid for what we know. And when people say, they ask me how much I charge, and they say, "Oh, I would never pay that much," I'm like, "Fine, that's okay." Yeah. Because you're paying for 25 years of experience. That's what the value is. And I think that we all owe it to each other to charge more money because everybody's keeping their prices so low, and that harms everybody else. Yeah. So I think together we need to start looking at our own value, and we need to charge more money.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it. Do you hear that? Just raise your effing prices, people. It's just that easy. No, it's not really, but it is once you decide that you're worth it. And then it also makes it easier. It's almost like the glass ceiling or the women wanting the right to vote or whatever, whoever paved the way, civil rights. Like, it's scary to be the first 100 people, but then it makes it easier for everybody else. So once all these other stylists are charging, then so if we all are like charging it, they can't go and get a good, decent haircut for pennies on the dollar, which is putting us all out of business. We're all like, there's a standard industry.
You owe it to yourself. Standard. You owe it to your family because you're going to have to work harder for less money, and you owe it to other hairdressers. And there's lots of people at the low end of the price range, and there's people at the high range. So I think somewhere in the middle, we need to kind of build each other up and start getting paid for what we're worth and for what we know and the value that we provide.
I love it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much. I hope that you really listen to this and can hear some nuggets of wisdom in there, because there are so many. And please do all of us a favor and raise your prices, okay?
Yeah, and let's help each other.
Yeah, we'll help each other.
Yeah, we got each other's back.
We do. Thank you.